years.
The following is a presentation of TFNN. The Tom O'Brien Show is produced every business day. Tom takes your phone calls toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-873-7618.
This is awesome. Commentarez-vous. We're going over to Paris. What's happening?
Hey, Tom, it's Adam from Paris. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Adam. Yourself?
That's good. Long time no talk. I appreciate everything you've done for me and my family over the years. So,
well, we appreciate you growling problem with us.
Yeah, sir. I've done gold reports and all the softwares and all your books, and it's generational. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Now, Tom O'Brien.
What's going on, everybody? Jacob Shoup, yet again, was on with you this morning. We were joined by Teddy Keckstadt, of course, the Tiger Forex Report. Strongly recommend checking out that newsletter. You can do so on the newsletter tab of TFNN. If you missed that interview that I had with Teddy, I really recommend checking that out. I love having him on. We went through, issues with the currency pairs. Is this move necessarily an indicator that we're beginning on an uptrend, relative to what, the USD Japanese yen is doing, relative to the euro dollar, relative to the yields. And then we spoke a little bit about crude oil as well. So definitely check that out. You can go to our YouTube channel, Tiger Financial News Network, and check out the archive from today. Man, quite a pairing, at least, of some of the gains that we had earlier. When I was on the show earlier today, we had the market up by, it was nearly 3% to the upside in the SPY, trading up 1.66%, now at 536.10. Pull this out just a little bit to kind of see how far we've come this morning. I don't buy it. If you play, and again, I'm talking from my own perspective and what I like to invest in and how I like to invest. But excuse me, I don't want you to hear that noise in the microphone. I still think that the credit markets aren't determining a movement either way. This is very headline driven. I don't think people are really looking at every part of what is being said before they're investing a ton of money into it. We had Basil talk at 10 a.m. and the whole idea was that they were going to de-escalate Chinese tensions. What does that mean? What is the time frame of de-escalation? Again, as I stated earlier this morning before Basil spoke, this is not a unilateral decision, right? It involves China. And of course, you have Trump speaking afterwards saying, listen, if we're going to do it, it might be 60, 50%, which would still be, does not warrant movement like this in the SPY or the composite or the Dow Jones Industrial. Of course, we flipped below 40,000 in the Dow Jones. So just be careful when you do it. Just know what this is, right? Which is a very volatile, headline-driven market. It is clear that people are trying to find a reason to push this thing back up to November, December, and beginning of January highs. I do not believe that is the proper kind of reference point people should be having, because I don't see a reason why the market pumped the way it did. Fundamentally, of course, there's a lot of just capital flowing through the market, but this is starting to slow down a little bit, right? We take a look at the composite, trading up 2.65% at 16,732, with the Dow Jones Industrial trading up 0.98% at 39,569. Russell Futures also up 1.54% at 1928. Again, this was up like 3.3% earlier this morning. The dollar itself, okay, we're at 99.81. We are creeping back up to that 100 level, which is somewhat positive, right? That might be an indication that you're seeing some kind of confidence come back into the dollar, into the U.S. market. Still taking a look at the 10-year Treasury yield, we're hanging right at 4.38% here, okay? So that's not really improving. You have the Treasury, 2-year Treasury, up 3.86%, or trading at that for yield. And then your 30-year Treasury yield is about 4.83. So not really a lot of movements in the credit markets there. That, I think, should tell us some stuff, at least about the validity of the move. Cost of capital is still somewhat high. The Japanese yen continues to appreciate relative to the dollar. So, these are, the point being is what is improving on that side, which is really fundamental, right? That could suggest that you're going to continue to see this kind of movement and that we might get somewhat of a trend reversal. And really the trend that we've been seeing, I would start with a big sell-off. It comes up, goes back down, okay, maybe not as much, tries to go up and reach where it crashed from, doesn't get it, and we're chopping essentially, right? So you got some pretty extreme choppiness in this market. I think that the bond market is explaining that. Currency market to a certain extent is explaining that. And yeah, I mean, I don't personally play that because I think we have a lot of, I mean, I will play it of course, but like, about resetting a major position and, kind of hoping for an improvement of conditions. I don't see that yet, right? And again, we've been tricked like this before, right, with this market, actually multiple times. So anyways, you have crude coming off 2.36%, some issues with OPEC Plus and Kazakhstan. The decision to accelerate output revival in April led to a plunge in crude prices, aiming to discipline overproducing members like Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan's energy minister rejected pressure to cut output, prioritizing national interests over OPEC Plus obligations, leading to fears of an escalating price war. OPEC Plus members may also seek, this is from Bloomberg, may seek another supply hike for June, which could exacerbate, of course, global oil surplus and worsen the bearish outlook. How about that? It's always so strange seeing like very large cartels that consist of very different cultures with very different goals. That was always kind of my big argument against BRICS as well. Kind of on that note, you consider, this is some headline news I think we should at least talk about, because if something does pop off, you might get some problems. But so there's obviously a terrorist attack in India, in the Kashmir region, a few days ago. India has basically rescinded all visas for Pakistani citizens. They have to go back within 48 hours. They've closed the border with Pakistan in that region, and then they are getting rid of the, unilaterally getting rid of the Indus water deal that they've had for a while. That's escalatory, I guess you could say. Don't know what Pakistan's response would be. I'm not sure if either of them really do want a prolonged kind of conflict. But, of course, China has been in conflict with India, a very cold one, over border disputes for quite a while, particularly in that Kashmir region. And recently, of course, China has cozied up to Pakistan in quite a way. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens with that. But moral of the story is, these kind of diverse cartels, as I said, or economic groups can run into issues like this quite a bit, and it does hinder any kind of competition they might provide. Folks, you stay right there. We'll be right back. We're going to talk a little bit about some Tesla. I read some stuff in the report, kind of strange. Be right back.
If you spend any time online researching trading techniques on how to begin your trading journey, you've no doubt come across many folks who push Forex trading as a way to make big money quickly. Unfortunately, there are equally as many stories of these so-called Forex professionals just looking to make a quick buck off aspiring traders without actually teaching the ins and outs of the Forex market. This is what sets Teddy Keckstack's The Tiger Forex Report off the riffraff. Every Monday, former Chicago Mercantile Exchange member and author Teddy Keckstack releases his Tiger Forex Report newsletter, where he dives into the complex world of Forex and takes time to actually teach you his methods that have made him so successful in the fast-paced and rewarding world of Forex trading. Furthermore, all subscribers receive access to archive live streams of Teddy's, where he provides university-level education to help you in Forex trading. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Forex awaits.
The reality is that navigating financial markets can be risky. Markets can be chaotic and difficult to understand. Having the latest market advice can help you turn this chaos into a key for creating winning trades. At TFNN, we understand that it can be hard to find reliable market news. That's why each of our market experts offers their very own market newsletter. A must-have tool for every trader out there striving to find an edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets so you can analyze the market before you trade. Try any of our great newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Just visit the Newsletters tab on the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Are you ready to take charge of your financial future? TFNN is your gateway to the world of trading and investing. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, TFNN empowers traders and investors of all skill levels with top-notch investing systems, strategies, and techniques. It's time to protect and grow your money with insight you can trust. Join us live Monday through Friday during market hours for exclusive content that moves with the markets. At TFNN, we bring the trading floor to you. Our seasoned hosts are here to answer your calls and questions live on the air. Check out the Tiger's Den for just $1 and follow us on YouTube and become part of our vibrant community. And remember, at TFNN, we're so confident in the value we provide that we offer a 30-day money-back guarantee on all new premium newsletter subscriptions and services. You have absolutely nothing to risk, so why wait? Tune in live to Tiger TV and transform your trading journey, because when you know better, you invest better. Join us and experience the difference today. TFNN, educating investors.
Welcome back, everybody. Jacob Shoup, you're watching the Tom O'Brien Show. Okay, wow, looking at the Den, and if you're not familiar, if you're first time kind of listening, if you're not familiar with the Den, what it is we have this big trading room on Discord as an application. We have a lot of people in it, but it is amazing how orderly it is, and honestly, very enlightening. You know, I get some interesting news that I wouldn't pick up elsewhere, which I think is fantastic. And then people just kind of discuss trading ideas or what they're doing. I think it's fantastic. If you're a long-time trader, I mean, you already understand the value in something like that. If you're just starting out, it's kind of a great place to do so. You can go right over to the Tiger's Den Trading Room by TFNN. Now, there's only $1 a year. The only reason we do that is just so we can make sure we know who's in there. We, of course, want to keep everyone safe and sound, but it's a great thing. So they're talking in the Den right now. I guess Trump is now speaking at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Yes, Fletch, I would probably assume on recent tariff developments as well. I don't know if that is bullish or bearish. I think Bessent's kind of address was relatively tempered. He is that kind of guy. The thing that worries me about that, you know, if you're kind of long right now, is Trump had to kind of clarify some stuff that Bessent was saying, right? Where it's like, no, these tariffs aren't going away. We're going to do this. Of course, we need multiple people. You know, does he just switch it? I'm not sure. This is what is so crazy about this market, you know? Whereas, like, traditionally, Bessent is somewhat bullish, you know, when he speaks. Bullish meaning the market likes it more. Whereas Navarro and Lutnick, which have been, very noticeably quiet, whenever they were speaking, that would just collapse the market. Trump is a wild card in that capacity. So we'll see what he has to say. Of course, very much looking forward to hearing that and seeing kind of how the market reacts. Very smart doing it after hours, of course. Yeah, MROZ for sure, psychologically. Interesting day, but then also kind of draining as well if you've been trying to play these swings. Give me a second. All right, let's look over here. Steel Dynamics, actually, I'm sad we didn't cover this, but yesterday, because this is a stock that I used to play quite a bit back in the day. It had just a really beautiful trading pattern, you know, and it stayed in that trading pattern for months. And it would flip over within a week or less than a week, so it would run its whole cycle, which I thought very interesting. So looking at Steel Dynamics right now, they do folded steel out in the Midwest. Basically said they're ready to meet the challenges of the tariffs, which again, the tariffs still exist, okay? They still exist as they are right now at this insane amount that amounts to an embargo. 60 to 50% would still be extraordinarily disruptive for the market. You know, I wonder how long this goes. I'm curious to see how, you know, like truckers and people who are at that portion of the supply chain, what happens to them, right? You know, I'm totally not gonna moralize anything about it, but I do think that can create some kind of political pressure for Trump, and so we'll kind of see what happens. But regardless, Steel Dynamics did have some pretty solid earnings, and I mean, taking a look at what EPS of estimated 1.39, giving up on a 1.44. Honestly, earnings have not been horrendous for a lot of companies, which is nice. I mean, 3M did very well. Obviously, defense companies were smoked just a little bit. We'll see how Raytheon or RTX is doing right now. It was off like 10% yesterday. Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a rebound, right? Kind of makes sense. But going back to Steel Dynamics, it seems like they're well poised, right, in the event that steel becomes an issue in the US with everything going on in China. On that same kind of note, taking a look at UUU, this is Energy Fuels, trading up 2.87% right now. Again, very much like it. I went over this company earlier today for the first show. Multitasking right now, very fun. Pull it up here. But they seem surprisingly pretty well positioned to capitalize on any development of rare earth elements within the US. We got into this company, I believe, late on Wednesday, and it's done pretty well since then. Of course, you had somewhat of a trace back, but that's all right. That's kind of expected. It is on a much lighter volume. If you like that kind of technical analysis on it, I do believe that this is a pretty solid long-term hold. Again, financials are okay. They are going to be able to produce what is a certain kind of material that is used in robotics, right? And we're going to use that as a segue right now to one, we'll talk about Tesla, that's the segue, but then also I think reinforce the necessity of having critical materials, rare earth element supply chains within the US. I think it's very important. They don't have a lot of exposure to China the way MP does, and we saw that MP was kind of smacked a little bit. But of course, there is hope for MP materials as well, as they will help build out this supply chain. Tesla had their earnings. So this is the headline, and why I think this kind of feeds into UUU. And I feel like people aren't looking at this company, right? If MP material is flying the way it is, right, or something that's very bizarre like USAR that is just a nascent company, it's surprising to me that this hasn't been given any kind of attention. I like the uranium play on it, but I'm also liking what is called the neodymium praseodymium play. Okay, so Elon Musk, this is from New York Times, warns rare earth magnet shortage may delay Tesla robots. Give me one moment to drink some water here. When he means magnet shortages, what he's referring to is going to be neodymium and praseodymium, right? And if you're going to get a ramp up, which I think you'd get a ramp up regardless of current geopolitical conditions, regardless of the administration, this needs to be built out in the US, and I think UUU is very well primed for that. Let's move then in a little bit to Tesla's earnings. Of course, as we were saying earlier, it was very tough for them. As far as total automotive revenues go, they're 20% down year over year, down even further if you consider quarter over quarter, but you get some cyclical action rocking here. Energy generation and storage revenue was up 67% year over year, but quarter over quarter, there's off about, I believe when I did the calculations earlier, it was roughly about 10.8% to the downside quarter over quarter. But again, it seems somewhat cyclical, but there's not enough data to determine that for sure. And then you have services and other revenues, which is up 15%, right? You have an operating margin of 2.1%, which is super tough. Income from operations off 66% year over year. Of course, you have a massive shift over in the factory producing the Model Ys, the new Model Ys, which of course could contribute to this, but we're going to have to wait for Q2 and more delivery numbers in the interim to kind of determine that. Operating expenses has increased 9%. Now, a lot of that, if you look at it on Edgar, is going to be from the investments in AI, right? So this is building Grok, and it's not just using it as, like a search engine. A lot of the ways that I use Grok is basically that. But they will use this AI almost as like a hive mind. It's kind of interesting. We're going to talk about that a little bit more when we get back. And then we're going to go into something interesting I saw on the Edgar submission of the 10Q that I kind of want to bring up and talk about because it's kind of interesting. Stay right there, folks.
Many trading newsletters attempt to focus on a narrow set of equities or commodities. While this works for some, it oftentimes misses many opportunities that possess huge gain potential. But how is an independent trader supposed to scan the entire market looking for these hidden opportunities? One simple answer: the opening call newsletter. Basil Chapman, developer of the Chapman Wave trading methodology, has been trading the markets for longer than most trading influencers have been alive. And over that time, he has honed his methodology in order to accurately call movements in a wide range of equities, from semiconductors to uranium to key indices and so much more. Basil is old school, taking the time to educate the trader while also giving his insights into key indices, selective stocks, and more. Opening call subscribers also receive access to dozens of educational live streams that can be accessed at any time for your edification. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So ignore the pop trading influencers and start learning time-tested technical analysis.
Steve Rhodes started his trading career as a student almost 20 years ago, and the student has now become the master. Steve won the prestigious Timer of the Year award in 2018 and barely missed that mark again in 2019, finishing at number 2 for the year. An amazing accomplishment. Steve Rhodes is committed to sharing his techniques and knowledge with anyone who wants to learn, and he shares his vast amount of trading knowledge every day in his Mastering Probability newsletter. Steve's award-winning newsletter, Mastering Probability, is delivered every trading day with updates throughout the afternoon. Sign up for Steve's market newsletter, Mastering Probability, and you'll receive access to 7 of Steve's educational webinars absolutely free. At TFNN, all our newsletters come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Visit TFNN.com and try Mastering Probability 30 days risk-free today. TFNN, educating investors.
This year has already been a wild ride for the market. We started off heavily in the red, traversed back to all-time highs, and we now have a trade war looming. Trying to play this chop as an individual trader leads to death by 1,000 cuts. Where does this market go next? Should I add to this position or cut my losses? Where is the next opportunity? Tariffs? Trade wars? Analysis paralysis. Don't become a victim of this intense market. Instead, join Larry Pesavento over the 2nd and 4th Friday of every month for 3 hours of live trading. Larry has been through many markets just like this one, and the insight he provides is invaluable. The dates for this month are April 11th and 25th, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern Time. Get in here and let's start trading. TFNN, educating investors.
This portion of the Tom O'Brien Show is brought to you by Direxion's daily leveraged and inverse ETFs. Whether you're a bull or a bear, you choose the direction. Visit Direxion.com. Investing in the funds involves significant risk and should only be utilized by investors who understand the impact of leverage and actively monitor their portfolio. They are not designed to track the underlying index or security for more than a day. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risk, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at Direxion.com. Read carefully. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Welcome back, everybody. Reading the den. Someone said might do a spy strangle before close. Yeah, I mean, you do like a long strangle. That's kind of what I was thinking earlier. They call it like a long iron condor as well. But I think this is going to move with whatever Trump says. I mean, premiums shouldn't be that heavy. I mean, the VIX is at 28.93. I mean, this is, look at that. I mean, you're trading at 27. There's still, oh man, some volatility left in this puppy in a big way. SPY trading up 1.57% right now. Composite about 2.47. Dow Jones Industrial trading up 1.03%. All right, so let's take a look here. Okay, of course, adjusted. This, we're talking about Tesla again, right? Just a really tough quarter for them. In a major way. One of the things that I think is really bad, of course, free cash flow, it's $664 million. Okay, that's really tough, versus something like 2 billion flat, 2.7 billion in the quarters prior. Of course, year over year, that is still positive. That is a 126% increase. They had negative free cash flow, but this slide back is kind of interesting, and I don't know if it's permanent or if it's just a unique quarterly thing. But there's too many variables, right, to say for sure. I think, regardless, not a great time here. I think what's really tough about this as well, if I can pull up, I'm going to pull up the Edgar here real quick, is the EV credits. Okay, so this is one thing that I think would have made this a lot worse for Tesla if they didn't have it. So, give me a second here. So the regulatory credits amounted to $595 million for this quarter. Without those regulatory credits, which again, and they say it in the 10K too, if there's anything that happens to these credits, they can be in a bad situation, right? I'm not very convinced that Trump will want to keep these. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But he has, up to this point, spoken very negatively about government funding for EVs, essentially. Obviously, that was famous for tanking Rivian for quite a while. I didn't understand why it didn't tank Tesla in the moment. But of course, Tesla sold off in a major way. Without those regulatory credits, you would have had, pretty close to flat free cash flow. You would have had a net loss for the quarter, which would be very intense. They're still great on cash. I mean, this is pretty good, right? Of course, they have accounts receivable, which is the $3.78 billion. This is a little bit weird to me. And if we go to page 10, give me a second here. Is that it? Yeah. So when they're talking with the automotive sales, right? The automotive sales were 12.9 billion revenue-wise. Obviously, regulatory credits were 595 million. Services and others up a little bit. This will probably become a little bit more dominant for them going forward, especially if they can get the full self-driving out. But keep in mind, the full self-driving is not out yet, right? I'm not sure how they're going to attempt to do this because it doesn't seem like they're licensed to do this in Austin fully yet. Excuse me. I get a little concerned, especially from past behavior or past showing of technology, that it'll be another thing like the Optimus event, right? Which was like Lynchian almost. I don't think it demonstrated very well how those robots worked. I think it was pretty clear that people were speaking through those robots, right? And so the idea, right, we'll go back for a second and talk about some of their capex that they had, or some of their expenses at least, which is going to be, operating expenses, which is going to be in the research and development department, right? And that is going into the AI. And this whole concept, and people say that, Tesla isn't really an AI or isn't really a vehicle company. It's an AI company. It's a software company. I mean, they generate a predominant amount of their revenue from selling vehicles. And the AI and software kind of angle is going to be used to service that, right? So I still think, vehicle company in that capacity. Let's introduce Optimus, right? And where does this all fit in? And the idea is you build out this AI, and the AI itself is controlling everything here. It controls the robots, it controls the cars, right? And the tech is very cool, right? I'm not trying to make him out to be like some kind of, fraudster or anything necessarily like that, right? I think it's a very intense undertaking. I think in theories we should be rewarding people who want to take these risks, right? There's just some stuff I feel like is kind of weird with this. But the point being is, a lot of these different vehicles that you'll have that will have, self-driving, first are using something called LiDAR, right? Which is just sending signals back and forth, and you just see what's there, okay? Musk argues that this is kind of inferior and more expensive to his. Again, not sure how he's arriving at that, but I'm assuming he's meaning on the whole, over time. And then the idea as well is if it can control that car, it knows where it's at all times. Like that really is just the same entity that is operating, So that's kind of cool, but that research and development for the AI is going to, that expense, right? The operational expense is going to continue to increase for them, right? And that is going to suppress margins in a major way. If you're getting operating margins of 2.1% right now, let's say that the cash flow generated, doesn't recover in the same kind of way because maybe there is some damage that was done to the brand. You're going to have persistently low operating margins, which I think is very tough. What I find interesting with this is under the automotive sales with the revenue recognition, I'm not sure exactly how to read this right now, but they have under the automotive segment deferred revenues, okay? So they're talking about deferred revenues related to the access of full self-driving features in their ongoing maintenance, that's the services area, internet connectivity, further services, and supercharging programs that's going to add to their services revenue yet again. And over-the-air software updates primarily on automotive sales amounted to $3.6 billion, as of March 31st, 2025 and December 31st, 2024. So if we're going to go back, I want to see what that amount is in deferred revenue. So they're getting some of the deferred revenue from times prior. Stay right there. We'll be right back because we're gonna dig into this and see if they're recording that deferred revenue right now, and if they are, I think that adds a whole new profile of risk to getting into Tesla right now. Stay right there, folks.
If you're looking for potential trading setups in the stock market, then Rocket Equities and Options Report is a newsletter you should try. Tommy O'Brien delivers options and equity trades when the markets present them using a combination of fundamentals and technicals. Sign up for Rocket Equities and Options Report today with a 30-day money-back guarantee so you have nothing to risk. For all the details and to start your subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors. For traders who crave risk, Direxion's daily leveraged and inverse ETFs provide opportunities to magnify short-term perspectives with up to 3 times a daily leverage, utilize bull and bear funds from both sides of the trade, and trade through rapidly changing markets. These are highly leveraged ETFs with daily resetting designed for short-term trading, not long-term investing. Whether you're a bull or a bear, you choose the Direxion. For up-to-date pricing and performance, go to Direxion.com. Investing in the funds involves significant risk and should only be utilized by investors who understand the impact of leverage and actively monitor their portfolio. They are not designed to track the underlying index or security for more than a day. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risk, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at Direxion.com. Read carefully. Distributor Foresight Fund Services, LLC.
The reality is that navigating financial markets can be risky. Markets can be chaotic and difficult to understand. Having the latest market advice can help you turn this chaos into a key for creating winning trades. At TFNN, we understand that it can be hard to find reliable market news. That's why each of our market experts offers their very own market newsletter, a must-have tool for every trader out there striving to find an edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets so you can analyze the market before you trade. Try any of our great newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Just visit the Newsletters tab on the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
TFNN has launched the Tiger's Den, hosted at Discord. TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. The Tiger's Den, available to all Tigers and Tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. Sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders. Just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
This program is brought to you by Vista Gold, traded on the NYSE American and TSX under the symbol VGZ.
Tom O'Brien.
Welcome back, everybody. Yeah, I don't think it's super clear. So it says they're doing the deferred revenue, equivalent revenue recognized from the deferred revenue balances as of December 31st, 2024. Was $258 million for the 3 months ended March 31st. But it didn't change the total on the liabilities. I'm not sure. There's some, I think that might be kind of weird going on there. I was reading through this before the show. And so I want to do kind of a closer research to kind of understand how they're recording that revenue and where that's necessarily coming from. But then further looking, they're expecting to recognize $780 million of deferred revenue in the next 12 months, and the remaining balance will be recognized at the time of transfer of control of the product or over the performance period. So I've got to look a little bit deeper into how they're doing that, because that might be kind of interesting if there's anything weird there. I don't think there's anything objectively illegal or something going on, of course. I'm not an auditor at all, but just somewhat kind of interesting to think about. You know, I've become like not suspect of them, but I feel like you gotta, personally for me, I have to read very closely when they have their 10Qs coming out. Of course, you should do that with everything, right? But you know, last time when they did mark to market on Bitcoin, it really bumped up their earnings. You know, so since then I've just kind of read this a lot more closely. So kind of see what happens with that. If anything, I'll just go over it tomorrow. I'll take a closer look if I can get some stuff done later tonight. Taking a look right now. Yeah, weird stuff. Of course, this is coming from a finance major, Shout out my accounting people out there. SPY trading up 1.33% at 534.33. Composite up 2.19% at 16,657. And the DJI trading up at 0.82% right now. Let's take a look right now, looking at Intel. Still not sure how this plays out for these guys in any meaningful way. You're up 5.3%, which is pretty solid. Now, this is on the news. Okay, let's see. Intel taps Taiwan Semiconductor for advanced 2-nanometer processes for AI-powered chips. Oh, very interesting. The Nova Lake PC processors. And this is a relationship that Gelsinger kind of screwed up. I think he said something culturally insensitive to the Taiwanese people, and they really did not like that and kind of got rid of some preferential treatment that they were provided by that. So trading up 5.36%. The CEO is now cutting another 20% of its jobs, Bloomberg reports, which is pretty solid. The cutbacks would follow massive layoffs last year at the ailing chip maker. The installation of the new CEO, of course, that's Cadence Design Systems, Lip Bhutan. Further cuts could shore up Intel's finances, but risk eviscerating the company's technological capabilities. This is something, and a lot of our clients and viewers have pointed this out as well. when Dave White was still around, he would bring up that there was just such a massive middle management bloat in Intel, right? And going back, listening to some of the stuff he would say on that, doing my further research over the past year on the company, it really seems like that's the case. An example of a company recently that has done very well by cutting a bunch of middle management, and it is reflected very positively in its earnings, has been Rockwell Automation. This is another guy that I'm very interested in if, in fact, we are going to embark on some kind of, automation revolution in the U.S. is Rockwell Automation. They have, I believe it's called Ocelot. No, excuse me, that's Amazon's quantum computer. It's called Oscar, I believe. And this is really cool. And what it essentially is it can move very large pallets almost automatically. The whole approach that Rockwell has is essentially trying to automate warehouses, maybe to a certain extent factories, which I find very interesting. I think it is probably priced okay for right now, considering, the PE, the risk in the general kind of just macro environment. Look at this, we're gonna get earnings on Rockwell too. That's gonna be on May 7th. This might be something interesting to kind of get into. If you remember, their earnings were extraordinarily solid. Now, this is not necessarily because they're making more revenue or their margins are necessarily getting any better, but it is because they are cost cutting. And the point of that is to shore up more capital to try to improve some of their operations, which I do like. Some of these older companies can definitely, like Intel, for instance, can really run the risk of getting way too much bloat. So we'll see what happens with that. Taking a look a little bit further into, give me a second, because I kind of want to look a little bit into this new chip that Intel and TSM are kind of working on. It's an AI-powered chip, which is unique. Nova Lake PC processor. So what is that, going to be another CPU? Yeah, it's a new CPU. This is probably the best bet. I don't know if they're going to continue to go on with fabrication in any meaningful way. Probably getting back to basics is pretty important for them. So yeah, Intel has reportedly placed orders with TSMC for the 2nm class N2 process technology. AMD confirmed Zen 6 Venice server chips. Give me a second, I think my computer has frozen a little bit here. Okay, there we go. Intel 18A should power some of Intel's most ambitious products. To ease pressure on the 18A production line and prevent delays of consumer products, Intel, okay. So that's what's going on. So they're still producing 18A, which is pretty competitive. They're going to outsource some of this stuff from Nova Lake to TSMC and Samsung. That sounds like a pretty solid approach, I would say. They really need this to work. Obviously, Raptor Lake was a huge mess where they just had old gen CPUs and they overclocked them. Very not good. There was a large demand from things like Battle Mage, right? That's using N4, so 4nm class. This is the issue I still have with Intel, right? And comparing it to things like NVIDIA or seeing them kind of like take off in a major way, is they're not really doing, building out full GPUs, right? I guess the 18A can be used, right? The nodes can be used for GPUs, which would be amazing to have them in that kind of supply chain. But if we look at things like Battle Mage, right, which is its recent GPU that they kind of released, it was, people loved it, but they weren't making big money, in the same way that you were with like something like NVIDIA and, their H100 and Blackwell and stuff like that. So I think the future is still a little unclear for Intel, but what I do want to say with it, and kind of what I feel confident about, is reading more up on Lip-Bu Tan. He seems like a very competent individual. I think them doing this for Nova Lake, which is basically, again, outsourcing the creation, is going to be very intelligent for them. It's going to remove any potential, on their end at least, for mistakes in the casting that we saw, for instance, with Raptor Lake. Stay right there, folks. We'll be right back for a short segment to wrap up the show.
Many trading newsletters attempt to focus on a narrow set of equities or commodities. While this works for some, it oftentimes misses many opportunities that possess huge gain potential. But how is an independent trader supposed to scan the entire market looking for these hidden opportunities? One simple answer: the opening call newsletter. Basil Chapman, developer of the Chapman Wave trading methodology, has been trading the markets for longer than most trading influencers have been alive. And over that time, he has honed his methodology in order to accurately call movements in a wide range of equities, from semiconductors to uranium to key indices and so much more. Basil is old school, taking the time to educate the trader while also giving his insights into key indices, selective stocks, and more. Opening call subscribers also receive access to dozens of educational live streams that can be accessed at any time for your edification. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So ignore the pop trading influencers and start learning time-tested technical analysis.
In the world of trading, only a few names stand out like Larry Pesavento, a pro's pro with over 50 years of experience. Larry has seen it all. A former Chicago Mercantile Exchange member, Larry has authored 10 books and trained over 1,000 traders with his unmatched expertise. Introducing Fibonacci 24/7, Larry Pesavento's daily trading service that turns the complexity of markets into opportunities. Published every Sunday, receive a comprehensive report packed with detailed commentary, charts, and videos that illuminate the patterns shaping the markets, with updates throughout the week exclusively for subscribers. Whether through charts or videos, Larry's analysis is your roadmap to navigating the markets. You can sign up now at TFNN.com for just $97. And with all TFNN newsletters backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to risk. For all the details, visit TFNN.com. You'll find Fibonacci 24/7 right under the newsletters tab.
The reality is that navigating financial markets can be risky. Markets can be chaotic and difficult to understand. Having the latest market advice can help you turn this chaos into a key for creating winning trades. At TFNN, we understand that it can be hard to find reliable market news. That's why each of our market experts offers their very own market newsletter. A must-have tool for every trader out there striving to find an edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets so you can analyze the market before you trade. Try any of our great newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Just visit the newsletters tab on the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN. Educating investors.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV.
Welcome back, everybody. Some news that's a little bit old here. We got a short segment left, but some news that's about 45 minutes old. White House press secretary again reiterated that there'd be no unilateral reduction in tariffs against China. Yeah, I think that's been the case, right? And so, the uncertainty is still somewhat here. It is nice to get some kind of confirmation from Trump that the tariffs won't be this high, but I think most people kind of knew that, right? Taking a look, if I can get this to load. Something that I think will be, might be kind of an issue here going forward is what the White House is intending on doing. I believe this is in May, but again, having some lag on my screen here. But they're going to start seizing wages for student loan collection. Debt collection will resume on May 5th. The administration will restart the Treasury Offset Program, allows the government to withhold various federal payments like tax refunds, federal salaries, and Social Security programs. Government will also start sending out notices later this summer informing borrowers that they've defaulted, who have defaulted about wage garnishment, in which the federal government can have up to 15% of borrowers' salaries withheld to pay back their debt. Listen, I mean, again, not moralizing the decision at all, but what that does is that will add greater stress on people, which I think could probably slow this economy a little bit further. We've been talking on here about, for the past few months, about the threat potentially of stagflation, right? I think you're seeing more people kind of discuss that. We have seen the recent CPI reports, inflation coming down a little bit. Oil is kind of moving back up a little bit, which was a nice suppressing factor on CPI. If you just get stagnation and still price increases from tariffs, you can get in a very strange spot. We'll see what happens with that. Folks, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for the morning market kickoff. Take care.